This time of year always makes us think back to the dark winter of 1971, when there almost wasn't a Christmas in San Francisco.
That November, our fairy drag mothers, the Cockettes, had taken their Bay Area hippie magic on the road to New York City, in a misguided attempt to hit the big time.
The fabulous Sylvester traveled with them as their opening act for a series of performances at the Anderson Theater.
Unfortunately, the sophisticated audiences of New York City were unable to appreciate the spontaneity and open-heartedness of the Cockettes. The city's cold reception drew a wedge between the group and Sylvester, and upon their return, the Cockettes were never the same.
But let's not dwell on the past. We are creating a performance in which we restage those 1971 shows. But this time, things are going to go right.
Our guiding question: what might have been if the Cockettes' radical world-making project hadn't been derailed that November?
We're querying the archive, if you will, and also inviting you into our process as a form of social practice.
And as we've been channeling the 70s this past week, we've been experimenting with costumes.
Mine is inspired by Sylvester. I think of it as a kind of Sunday morning, lounging around after a weekend at the baths look. Lots of color blocks and clean lines, and I repurposed this belt and this brooch to make this nice headpiece.
And mine is inspired by the Cockettes, so maybe it's a little more freeform. But I've just been playing around with wigs and glitter, and with gauzier, sheer fabrics that I'm normally comfortable wearing.
And he's still working on it, but it's coming along.
And we've been modeling our sets. So, this is our maquette, or diorama, and as you can see, it traces the Cockettes' journey from the West Coast to the East Coast. So it begins over here with San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. Then it goes eastward through the Red State, sort of this desert of culture. And as you can see, things are kind of beige and barnyardy. But the butterfly goddess looks down, and everywhere they go, the Cockettes impart their sort of queer magic and psychedelia, and finally you get to the far right there, and that is the Big Apple.
But don't worry, we're going to have a lighting concept and design, and that's going to make everything much more clear. And then, for the opening acts and the solo numbers, all the lights are going to go down, and all this junk's going to get blacked out, and then you'll just have Sylvester out front with a spotlight.
Well, I thought we agreed that we wouldn't entirely block out the sets, because Sylvester could still interact with them, and also, of course, with the other performers.
No, I think it's too busy. I think we need to pare things down to one or two main concepts, because all this clutter just makes it look like we don't know what we're doing. Plus, it's going to make it harder for the critics to write about it the next day.
When the Cockettes
and Sylvester
opened in New York City, it was the biggest off-Broadway opening that the city had ever seen. Anthony Perkins was there.
Sylvia Miles and Rex Reed were there.
Angela Lansbury was there, as well as the usual people like the Warhol crowd. And the reason I think that everyone turned out is because New York really genuinely wanted, I think, to support and understand San Francisco art. They really did. But something just didn't work. I don't know what it was. Maybe the work was too raw, too honest. Maybe it wasn't commercial enough.
Well, also the Cockettes didn't rehearse. They just sort of phoned it in like they always did. So maybe that had something to do with it too. Sylvester, on the other hand, brought down the house. Unlike the Cockettes, he had spent the whole week prior rehearsing with his hot band, and it paid off. He was a major smash.
So what are you saying exactly? That the Cockettes are responsible for what happened to them? That they should have been more professional?
Well, I think that sometimes people, especially in the Bay Area, dismiss things as corrupt professionalism when what they're actually pointing to is talent, and it scares them because not everyone has it.
So basically, what happened in New York is that Sylvester betrayed the Cockettes. When he saw that they were sinking in the cold, icy waters of Manhattan, he jumped ship. On the second night, he went out on stage and said to the audience that the show was a travesty. And then on the seventh night, he went out there and said, "I gotta be here, but I don't gotta sing," and he walked off stage. So really, he fucked them over. But maybe you think we should celebrate him for that.
Oh no, I think we should condemn him for it. If the Cockettes didn't rehearse and know how to sing, how dare Sylvester? You're right. The only way for queer art to advance is if we all stick together in our tired mediocrity.
So I guess the lesson here then is that a time comes in every San Francisco artist's career.
When they have to decide.
Are they going to be the Cockettes?
Or are they going to be Sylvester? Merry Christmas.